Today, we're going to work on something that I believe is going to be, if you really apply this, it will be revolutionize your life. And this is about compassion. This is 3 ways to increase compassion in your life, which will increase love and the love you receive. And you'll become a magnet with people that want to be close to you, connected to you. And that's a good way of being in any relationship for that matter. But the first thing we're going to talk about is, well, what is compassion? Compassion is to suffer together. I love that definition, to suffer together. I love it. It's also to come alongside with somebody. That's compassion, to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So there's 3 things that I want to talk about that we do that actually takes away our compassion and that makes us indifferent. So I want to talk about that, and then we're going to get into the 3 things that we get to do in order to increase our compassion, which increases our love. First thing that happens when we lose compassion is we disconnect with our pain. We disconnect with our own emotion. And disconnection with your own emotion, you probably grew up seeing that when people was drinking or using food, work, or any different ways of being that causes them to disconnect from their pain. So you grew up probably in an environment where you saw it. I mean, people say don't feel bad when you feel bad, or just grieve by yourself, or get busy. Don't feel. Those are things that programs your mind to not feel. So when the lack of feelings you have, the lack of emotion, the lack of being present causes you to have no or lack of compassion with other people. That's number 1. Number 2, projecting your pain in other people. When you project your pain, you're deflecting your pain. So what does that mean? That means that when you're blaming someone for your pain, when you're pointing the finger, your entire focus on the person that hurt you. And what happens when you focus your entirety? First of all, you're giving away your power, number 1. And number 2, you stop focusing on yourself. You stop focusing on your own pain. So it's easier to point the finger. It's easier to put your pain on somebody else because it causes you to disconnect with your own pain. Lastly, number 3, association. Who are you associating with? Are you associating with people that you have around you that agree with your pain, that not agree with your pain, but agree with your anger, right? They'd agree and they kind of massage your anger. They tell you to yeah, you're right. You shouldn't do this. Yeah, you're right. So they rally you up to have revenge. They rally your resentment. Do you call people to connect with that? Or do you call people to connect with your pain, to allow you to be present with your own grief and your own pain? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So those are things that we do that stops us from really having full compassion. Here's some things that you can do, which is the opposite. So you could have more compassion for yourself and compassion in your life with other people, because we all want it. But number 1, you probably guessed it, be aware of your own pain. Be present with your pain. Deal with the drama and the trauma of your own pain. When you're present with your pain and you're connecting with your pain, it's easier for you to recognize somebody else's pain. Because it's easier for you to have compassion because you know what it is. You have an idea. You never know fully 100% how somebody feels. At least you could relate. So that's number 1. Number 2, be present with somebody else's suffering. So number 1, you got to be present with your own, be aware of your own pain. And the second thing is to be present with somebody else's pain. And how do you do that? By listening. Listen to them. Listen to what they're going through versus trying to fix them or trying to give them a good advice or trying to tell not to feel. No, be present. The biggest thing you can do is be a heart with ears. Just be there to listen. Sometimes people don't need to be fixed. They just need to be heard. So listen to them. The last thing is number 3 is have a choice to have compassion as a lifestyle. Make a choice to have compassion as a lifestyle and create a community of people that are expert at giving compassion, because you're going to learn how to be compassionate. But it's not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle event. It's a training of your mind. So here's the thing, and I wanted to end with this really quickly here. When you are triggered to not want to be compassionate or to get mad, right? Or you're triggered in any way, there's two choices that you have. A trigger just is an opportunity to choose two choices, right? You have a choice that you could connect with God, you could connect with your true authentic self, which leads to compassion, kindness, mercy, heart connection, sympathy, and love. Or you have a choice. That trigger could lead you. Somebody cutting you off in the freeway, somebody yelling at you, whatever, could lead you to choose the opposite, the compassion, the kindness, the mercy, and everything else. Or you have that choice that could lead you to be closer to your ego. Either you're closer to God or you're closer to your ego, right? So you're closer to your ego, then it means that you're going to repeating that pain because you get to be right about the pain, which leads you to be indifferent, also insensitive, not concerned, dislikable, right? And also in hate, in self-hate and hatring of other, and in being cruel. You see, because the lack of compassion is progressive. So is compassion. The more compassionate you are, the more you will be compassionate. The less compassionate, the less compassionate you'll be. So there's two choices that you have every single day. And the more you practice those choices, of course, you're going to fail. You're going to get triggered and you're going to get mad, but don't get default. Don't be like, okay, that's just the way I am. And they did this, then you're back to your lack of compassion. All right. You're back to that identity of not being a compassionate person. Okay. It's just an identity that you might have grown up with that tells you that you're not compassionate, that you're not loving, you're not good enough. Again, the tapes that's in your mind about you and the way you treat you will be a lot connected to the way you treat others. And sometimes we say, no, I do treat people great. That's the problem. I give. I have so much compassion, but I leave nothing for myself. That's not true compassion. That's you giving and you're on an empty tank. That's not true compassion, because eventually what happens? You get so ticked off because people don't appreciate you, and you become what I call the Terminator. You go from Mother Teresa to becoming the Terminator, and then you start to just attack people. Why? Because you feel they're not compassionate, but you were giving on an empty heart. So you got to feel yourself first before you give to others. That's what I wanted to share with you, and hopefully this was great. Well, thank you so much for watching my videos. Please do subscribe if you like the video, and please share it, and also click on the bell button there so you can be notified with any new videos that I come out with. Thank you.